Alright, so I finally got around to installing the Henn Racing Maverick X3 hard windows for the doors. And I mean, the price versus Super ATV hard windows, I mean, there is a big price difference, but it's definitely a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But to me, basically you just get shipped the parts and you have to assemble it and put it together yourself, and it's a lot to do. Don't give me, for real, it's a lot to do. And a lot of it does not line up like Mr. Henn's videos. I got a 2024 Maverick X3. I've got like maybe 60 miles on it, and it just does not line up at all. It took a lot of work to even get it to halfway fit, and and let me flip the camera around. All right, so I've got the door tied up right now to hold the door open. But if you notice, this does not line up, and I couldn't go any lower because it was either going to hit or it wasn't going to make at all to the other window, to the door window. This is a really thin metal. If you notice, it's really thin. I got a piece of weather stripping that was left over from my back window, Super ATV back window, just to stick up there because it's going to need it anyway, just to see how it would do. So like you see, it doesn't go all the way to the end. I'm going to try to pick up some more tomorrow, the same size from a auto parts place or something in the morning. But I mean, this is, it is a lot of work. I spent 7 hours on this one side, and I've broke a bit. Actually, I broke 2 bits. And what it is like these U-bolts here. Okay, they need to actually stay, because right now it's so flimsy and everything that I have a feeling that in his instructions, he wants you to have a rib nut in here with a little bitty bolt, the same size as the bolts that you see here, to support all this. I don't see that going very well, because with this big U-bolt, she is flippity floppity. Just like here, got another U-bolt, and he wants you to do this here and here with a little pot rib with a little bitty bolt. I don't see that going well at all. This piece here, it was ridiculously way off. And actually, this is where I broke that big bit that he sent with the kit, was trying to get a pot rivet in this. I had to actually ream the hole out and try to drop it down. Then I had to bend this bracket he sent down to fit it, because there is a freaking tube in here. I mean, there's no way you're going to drill, and then you got a half a tube right on top of it, and the drill bits go through this little thin piece of metal, and then when a corner of it hits this tube, she snaps the drill bit. I broke 2 of them already. And so I finally had to take a punch and just keep beating to get this piece of pipe to bend back enough so I can get that rib nut in there to get this bolt in. And it's still not perfect. Trust me, you can't see it right now, but it's still not perfect. And the cutout is way off for that. Way off. But there was nothing else I could do. Okay, these wasn't that bad. The one down in here and the one up here wasn't too bad. Actually, the one down here, it's the same thing. It hits the corner of this tube, and once you get a drill bit in there, and it's going to catch it. You can't. Okay, he's cheaper than another company. I can't say he's not cheaper than another company, but there's a lot of, at least the other company, everything is pre-assembled, everything is good to go, just bolted on. This, 7-8 hours later, I've got one side done, and it is very flimsy. All right, here's this handle that I installed, and once I installed it, I already had an issue. I had to take my Dremel tool and actually cut a chunk out of it, because what it was doing is, when you shut the door, it was scrubbing on this, and then it would not open because it was scrubbing on it. And every time you close it was scrub, and then when you tried to pull it, it was like it wouldn't do anything. It would just, it would snap. You know, I had to reach in. Glad I done that first, because I had to reach in and pull the rope and get it open. So after I did that, it was okay. And plus another thing, even if you did pull it before I cut it out, it would have hit this too, and it just wouldn't open. It would hit that other piece, and also it would hit that. So I had to gouge it out just to get it to work. I like it where you can grab it from the outside. His logo and everything there is not seen very well once you get it installed, but now I've got it working pretty well. But like I said, I had to modify it because it was scrubbing there, and then it was getting hung. Same thing for the other side, same issue. Had to get a Dremel tool, cut it out, and everything else. So and this, what he sends is like a little L bracket that bolts onto your factory bolt inside here, but that was not working out very well. It was like a little bitty L bracket, and you're supposed to take and pull them little strings down, tie it tight, and pull it tight, because if you don't, what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of flop on that front end. That little bitty frame right there, she's going to flop, and it's going to be a gap in between it. So you have to kind of pull this tight once you get the door closed. But what I done, I actually had extra bolts left over from the mirror that I had installed here, that I've relocated here on the window, that is now, your vision is going to be very distorted because there's so much flopping. So I installed this so I can just wrap the wire around it. You know, instead of trying to re-loop every time and twist and do the bread tie thing, I just pull it tight and wrap it around. But this was the extra bolt I had from the mirrors. Put a nut on it, put a washer on it, ran it in there, got it tight. Had this to do that. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. I have not got that far yet. Because once I got this far, it was a task. A lot of work. I mean, a lot of work. But this piece right here was definitely not, it was way off. And I'm going to show you what I mean. I even tried to hand bend it and everything else to get it to work out. Okay, you see the door's closed. Big old gap here. Wobbly. Look at that mirror. So that's why you got to pull that piece tight. But even with that, you're still gonna have glass shaking and all that good stuff. But and like I said, this weather stripping, I'm gonna get some more tomorrow. This was some that was left over. If you don't have it, it's gonna be worse. So I couldn't really get it to line up like he had in his video. I got a big gap here, and it's right on the edge. If you notice that, I mean, I didn't have anywhere to go, any more room. You know, I couldn't go any further in certain spots. If I shifted too much forward, and another thing, which I can show you here, there's another spot that's way, matter of fact, I can go ahead and pull it off because it wasn't that bad getting back on. I can show you. Right here, this was a big miss. That does not line up at all. And I can't shift it forward, because if I shift it forward, then I will hit right there. It wouldn't let me go any more forward. Plus, if I went any more forward, I would run out of rod back here, and the glass would be back in the rod. So I'm right at the edge of the rod, so I can't go no more forward. And the same thing here. If I did that forward, then I had to bring this forward because your gap would be so big, but I can't bring that forward because I'm already off here already. I know he maybe some, like you said, these things they have a lot of the frames and everything, and the roll bars and all that. They have a lot of big tolerance issues with these. So I can understand it may be a big issue, you know, but That's almost a whole 3/4 of an inch, almost an inch really. And if I went that far forward, this glass would be, I probably wouldn't even be able to put a bolt in it. And then when I do that, you're gonna have a massive gap here, and plus I can't do that because I will be hitting there. So yes, you've got a lot of work. I really hate to say it, but you know, I didn't realize that there was another company out there making something like this, but this like $300 or $400 more expensive. But this stuff here is a lot. It's a bigger. It's actually like a tube, bigger tube, instead of this little bitty, maybe a 3/8 little tube with weld-on tabs and everything for your glass. And that was, man, that was a massive shindig trying to do this by yourself, trying to get all this stuff bolted up and everything without it moving and shimming and bowing, and oh my God, that was that was really something there. But yeah, and then you had to kind of wallow out some holes, because once you try to hold it up and drill it, it actually needs washers. I'm probably gonna go back and just get some longer stainless steel bolts all together and get some washers on it to make it a little more, you know, I'm not really trusting these little bitty tiny bolts to hold on like that. But yeah, you know, in his video, this is a lot tighter fit, but there's no way that this could be this way. And if you slid, it just wouldn't work out. I've tried it. But this was the part to work a couple bolts. I mean, a couple drill bits here, because there's no room. As you see, there's a bar that comes through here, and it's like a little bitty piece of metal that sticks down right at the bottom. And if you try to drill it, then you got that bar right behind it, and poof, it breaks off. Then you can't get the pop rivet in also, because the bar and everything behind it, so you have to get a punch. I'm going to keep beating and beating and beating and beating and beating and beating to get that pushed back enough to get the pop rivet in, and it still ain't perfect. It's just, I had to make it work. That's all. And if you see, hold on. All right, let me take this off so it'll be just like it is, the way it's supposed to be. All right, if you see, it's still wobbling. All right, so no weather stripping that I'm going to add on. It's just like he has it. Okay. And if you see, that does not work out very well at all. There's a big gap right here. And can't get no tighter than that, because, and it's bigger at the top and the bottom, but I just could not get any tighter than that. As you see, because if I try to push this back to get it tighter, this will even be way more off, and I would run out of rod to bolt to. So I'm happy with the way it looks. I mean, it looks great. I got the light tint. But I've seen better. It just seems like to me, for the price, you're basically getting some parts, plastic, glass, a lot of bolts and nuts, a lot of drilling, a lot of tapping, a lot of drilling. You got to put in rib nuts. I haven't done yet because I broke the bit that I need to do the rib nuts on. I actually broke 2 of them because I picked one up, and it's hard to find a 1964 bit. It's very, very, very hard to find around here. I don't know why. It's not in any drill bit kits, and you can't. It's very, very rare. I found one at Advance. I mean, not at Advance, at Ace Hardware. One. Yeah. And it was $8 for that one bit, and it broke. Working on this, trying to get it to work. So, just beware. It's a lot of work. A lot of work. You basically got to assemble everything yourself, measure, hold it up, tap. I mean, you got to do everything yourself, pretty much. It seems like for the price, something would have come kind of pre-assembled a little bit, sort of. I understand he was saying that everything is different in all models, this and that. I understand, but I don't know how another company out there, I'm not going to say the company's name, but I don't know how this other company can just have everything pre-assembled and you bolt it on and it's good to go. And actually, this part right here that you see here is not going to hold it very well. It's very, very weak and flimsy, especially when I go to do the pot rivet up. Just them 5 little tiny little bolts trying to hold that on when it's already flippity floppity. Another company out here has this same kit, but this piece right here goes all the way down to the bottom for extra support. Plus, there's a big offset here because what it's doing actually is pushing on my plastic out. And if you see, there's a big bow in the plastic right there because it's pushing out on the plastic so much. And the reason is this bolt right here is bolted to this little plastic piece here. And with this, you got to get it straight up. If not, it's going to be way out. And then it's still going to try to pull back when you close the door. So you got to kind of push it against that plastic on the door. With it doing that, it is pulling this plastic out. And you kind of, look, I mean, it's pushing the plastic out so hard. It's pushing this out so hard that where that bolt is at, it is pulling it in. And probably with riding, it'll probably end up breaking the paint and everything else right there. But luckily enough, I'm in North Carolina. It only gets cold a few months out of the year, maybe 3 or 4 at the most, maybe 3. So I won't be running this all year long, just every so often when I ride in the cold weather. But there's a lot of work for the money. A lot of work for the money. And then the final ending product is not, it is not what I expected. Not what I expected. Sorry. It's just not very happy with the whole finished product.